MMA Rants and Raves, UFC 138. Cain Velasquez versus Junior Dos Santos. Guys, let's talk about this fight. I want to start out by talking about Cain Velasquez. Cain Velasquez is a guy who has probably made the quickest evolution of an MMA heavyweight over a short period of time. I mean, guys, this guy was being accused of a lack of striking power. And if you look at the fight against Chicago, I mean, he must have hit him with maybe 200 punches. Couldn't put him away. Then he faces Ben Rothwell, who he hit many times with a lot of shots. And many were saying that fight was ended early. Rothwell looked disappointed. So the striking power looked like it just wasn't there. And then in the very next fight, he faces a guy with one of the legendary chins in MMA history and nearly knocks him out with one punch. I mean, it was the one punch that basically finished the fight. There was a few other ones that followed, but I mean, talk about a complete 180 as far as striking power. And then in the fight after that, you know, he faces Brock Lesnar. And, you know, Brock Lesnar, a guy who showed an incredible chin as well from taking punches from a man like Shane Cohen, which may kill an ordinary man. And he was able to take those punches. And then he fights Velasquez, and you know, look what happened. Velasquez, well, what he was able to do with his striking power. So the guy has become a guy with very heavy hands. So that's a remarkable story, how quick he evolved. He evolved, and also very quickly, like I said. And of course, you know, he's a great wrestler. He's picking guys up, slamming them. He's showing great strength. He also has that motor. They say he has the best cardio of any heavyweight out there. They say he out-cardios welterweights. That's important to have, especially for a man who's over 240 pounds. That's pretty remarkable. I mean, he's just a very well-rounded fighter. He has a great tie clinch, too. He has different striking techniques. He showed that in the Dennis Stoyanich fight. That was a fight that I just happened to watch. And it's pretty impressive that he has a multitude of skills. He's also pretty quick. He has good hands, you know. He's good accuracy, paces himself well. He's very disciplined. He's patient. I mean, he has all the makings of a champion, which is why he is one. Now let's talk about Junior Dos Santos. Junior Dos Santos is a destroyer. I mean, this is a guy that, you know, he comes into a fight and he's got such an elite level of boxing. It's just remarkable, especially for a man his size, a 240-pound, 239-pound, whatever it is. You know, he's around that weight area. I mean, he's got such quick hands. I mean, his accuracy is remarkable. His hands come at such high speed. And, I mean, I've noticed that. I saw it in the Fabricio Verdun fight. When he got hit with that uppercut, it looked like he didn't even see it coming. And that's what makes this guy so dangerous. And if you look at the people that he's beaten, if you look at what their faces look like, it just proves how hard this guy hits. And his technique is remarkable. I mean, if you watch the fight against Carwin actually had a reach advantage. And you see, it's reach advantage versus speed, because it seemed like he was beating Cohen to the punch. Even though you have the reach, it's the speed in which the punch comes across. So even if a guy has a longer reach, if you're throwing a jab and he is, if your fist comes quicker and you have the accuracy, you know, you can beat him to the jab. And I saw the fight. That's what it seems like it was happening. He was beating Cohen to the punch. And that's remarkable, you know, that he has that kind of speed. He's also a big guy. He's about 6'3", so that complements the reach. And, you know, that's something really to look at. That's important that he has that technique. I mean, he showed that he's got good leg kicks. I mean, he threw one that landed flush. Just shows how tough Carwin is to absorb it, and you heard the impact. So, you know, although he doesn't throw many leg kicks, he can. And that's the thing about him. It's just this continued mystery about Junior Dos Santos' other abilities. We really don't see them because his boxing has been so successful. But what we are seeing is his takedown defense. I think he's got the best takedown defense of every heavyweight. I mean, he reminds me of Mirko Cro Cop in the Pride days. Mirko Cro Cop has horse legs. That's why it's so tough to take him down. And while Cro Cop has the horse legs, he's got those hips. He probably has the strongest hips in mixed martial arts. I mean, even if you can get this guy down, he just jumps right back up like a jackrabbit. I mean, you can't hold him down. He has a very strong lower body. And, you know, that's the thing about him. He's also a very strong guy, too. Colin mentioned his strength. if a guy, a beast like Shane Cowan, calls you strong, that means you're strong. And you can see, even when Cowan did get him down, I mean, he just comes right back up. You know, all that work that you have to do, the cardio you got to spend, then he comes back up again. You know, that can be really frustrating, especially if you're a wrestler. Something else I wanted to mention here that's important, and you know, Velasquez is coming off this rotator cuff surgery. I remember watching baseball. If you had a rotator cuff injury, you know, people were saying it's the end of a career. That's how bad it was. And I was hearing rumors that this rotator cuff that he had, Velasquez, was like 90% tear. So I don't know if it's rumors or true, whatever it was, but the question is, how healthy will he be in this fight? Is he completely healed? Rotator cuff is a nasty injury, especially, you know, if you're going to depend on your striking, and he is going to have really good striking against this destroyer, Dos Santos. I mean, he better be on his A game, and he better be healthy, because this guy is very dangerous. And the reason why striking is going to have to be good is my next point. Junior Dos Santos' takedown defense. You know, if Cowan, who I believe is physically a stronger man than Velasquez as far as core strength, had troubles taking this guy down, I mean, how is Velasquez going to take him down? And if Dos Santos can stuff Velasquez's takedowns, he's going to force Velasquez into a stand-up fight. I don't see how Velasquez can beat Dos Santos in a stand-up fight, you know, based on what I've seen from the two fighters. And even though, you know, he's evolved so much, and if there's any situation with his rotator cuff injury, if he's not 100% the way he used to be, that can make it even worse. So the question is, that's a question mark. How healthy is his shoulder and his arms, his striking power? That's a real thing to look at. It's important. And as far as the chances of these two fighters, early in the fight, okay, I see that Dos Santos has an advantage. You know, he's got the striking. He could just, if one of these fighters can't put each other away, if there's no knockouts involved, and it's likely that can happen, I see Dos Santos being able to be more technical. I mean, he looks like the more technical boxer, and he just may be able to outstrike Velasquez and just be successful doing that. So he may win rounds like that. Now, keep in mind, this is a 5-round fight. There's another point I wanted to make. A lot is spoken about Velasquez's cardio. He really has not, well, he hasn't been in a 5-round fight. He hasn't gone 5 rounds. We really don't know how he's going to be if this fight goes 5 rounds. That's the real question here. They say his cardio is great, he's a motor. Well, if he is, he's going to have a big advantage in this fight. Because, you know, if you're a heavyweight and you got great cardio, I mean, that's one of the most important things to have. He might be able to outlast Dos Santos and, you know, maybe even get a finish, depending on if the fight is a real grueling fight and if Dos Santos gets worn out. I mean, he showed a little bit like any other human being does in the Nelson fight, like his punches were slowing when he couldn't put Nelson away. So if Dos Santos could, well, if Velasquez rather can have the better cardio, if he can show the better cardio in this fight, then he'll have an advantage later in the fight. He might be able to take the fight. But that's another question mark. The question is, whose cardio will reign if the fight doesn't end early? You know, if Dos Santos can't get an early knockout, because that's the other thing about Velasquez. He's got an iron chin. I mean, he's taken punishment before. He can take punishments. My goodness, I mean, he took a flying knee from Brock Lesnar, and some are questioning whether that's what caused the rotator cuff injury. I mean, that was a brutal assault. Got punched in the face, I mean, square in the face by Cheat Congo. I mean, he absorbed it, kept fighting. The guy is a really tough guy. And also, we know Dos Santos' chin is really good. He got hit by Shane Cowan, survived that. I mean, Nelson hit him, survived that, so he can also take punishment. And that's the makings of having two guys being able to fight in deep waters. So that's another question mark. So the way I see it, if what people are saying about Velasquez's cardio is the case, he may have an advantage if the fight goes later into the fight. Earlier in the fight, I see Dos Santos, because using his technical boxing, might be able to, you know, land some punches, maybe one that may finish the fight too. You just don't know. As far as the fight getting to the ground, that's the key. You know, the key is, will Dos Santos' takedown defense be good enough to stop Velasquez's takedowns? And even if he can take him down, will he just pop right back up again? If that happens, is going to force Velasquez to rely on a striking battle, and that's going to favor Dos Santos. Anyway, I want to make a prediction here. It's going to be a really tough fight. You know, everything about these fighters looks like it's going to be a tough fight and a very interesting fight. So I'm going to make a prediction. I'm going to go with Junior Dos Santos. I mean, I've been watching this guy a long time. I'm very impressed with his abilities, what he can do. You know, Velasquez, of course, has a great chance of winning as well, but I'm going to predict that I'm going to go with Junior Dos Santos in this fight. So I would like to know what you think about the fight. Please leave your comments below the video, rate this video, and subscribe. And thank you for tuning in.